Hey everyone, I'm Rosie and welcome back to my channel, the place on the internet where we make collage art. So this week we're doing something really fun. I'm really excited. I want to experiment with adding embroidery detail to one of my collages. So I have my embroidery floss here and I feel like there's a few different ways we can go with this. One, we could use the embroidery floss as sort of like a decorative element to the collage. So like details on a dress or like in the hair or like rays of a sun in like a graphical way. Or we can use the thread as an actual element in the scene. It might have to be like a rope or something. But think about like if we had like a cowboy like lassoing something, the lasso could be the thread. And that might add like a cool textural element. So anyway, I feel like those are the two different ways we could go. I don't really have a idea of which way we're gonna go. I think the decorative element might be a little bit easier, but I'm gonna have to see what we find. So let's jump into some books, see if we can find a subject, somewhere to start. But I am pretty excited about this one, so let's get started. All right, I found a few things that might make good subjects. The first one is this guy. Well, this whole scene is like a bunch of cowboys, but particularly this guy. I love how much action there is. And I think that we could do a cool lasso moment with this guy. The next one is this lady playing the violin. And I thought we could do maybe a decorative thing for this and create maybe like radiating circles out from the violin that would sort of maybe be like sound waves. And this would definitely be like decorative and I don't even know what we'd use for a background. Like where would we put her? What scene would she be in? I'm not really sure. So they got that one. So the last one is a little bit of a silly one. I can't help myself. I love silly things. And I found this lady who's on like a tightrope and she's also juggling knives, which I love. Although if I have to cut out each knife, that's not fun. But anyway, I thought we could replace this rope that's in the picture with a tightrope that's made of the embroidery floss. And we could put her over like a canyon or something. So I like this idea. I think it would be really fun. So these are the three ideas that I have. And you know, as I was talking about her, I think I actually have the perfect background. I want to see if I can find it right now because I think this is a cool idea. Okay. This Canada book that I love, there's this image in here. I'm wondering if I can find it real quickly. It's of this like garden scene. Oh my God, right here. Oh my God, that was crazy. Oh man, I thought it was kind of different. So I'm going on this like crazy tangent. This is not how I do things normally. But I was thinking in my head, I was like, oh, it'd be cool if she was like serenading a garden party. And I like the idea of her being huge. But this image is not right because I would want to put her over here because there's like people walking here. Like if she was flipped the other way, this would be incredible. But maybe we can use this idea, maybe find a different garden scene and she's like serenading the people. Kind of like this idea, but I got really sidetracked. So let me flip through some other books, find some other things, and we will reconvene once I have more things to talk about. Okay, so I found this picture of this guy standing in these flowers and I really love this picture. The flowers are beautiful. And I'm hoping that we can maybe cut him out and cut out maybe some of the background and put the lady playing the violin tucked in under here. I just think that this is really beautiful image and we can cut the sky out and maybe give a new sky so we can get some more height to this picture. and then create some sort of sound waves with the embroidery floss. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like yet, but let's try to finish this composition, see if we can make this work. All right, I think this is turning out really awesome. I love the colors. I love how she's black and white. She feels very different than the rest of the photos. I'm super loving this. The other thing I want to do before we get too far is look for maybe a few more flowers to add down here to flesh this out a little bit more. And then I think we're gonna have to glue this and mount it on cardstock before we think about sewing, just to give it that stability. I'm making a last minute adjustment as I glue. I should not do this, but I don't know, it's happening. So I really wasn't a fan of whatever I left up here. It was like trees or something. It was looking kind of weird and it was taking away attention. I don't know, I didn't like it, but now I have this like weird line here where I cut out the mountain I didn't like. So now I'm gonna try to cover it up with some flowers, and these are the same flowers, like from the same book as these two. So I think that we can tie it together with that and it will cover up this seam a little bit, which is like a little awkward. And now I think it gives us a little bit more free space up here. This is like a really stressful last minute decision, but I think it's gonna turn out okay. Okay, I think I saved it. I think this is gonna work. Now I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit and then we will come back and talk about the design we're gonna add, because that's the really fun, exciting part. All right, it is a week later. I'm finally now getting to the fun part of adding the embroidery. So I did some sketching on my iPad to sort of figure out what I wanted the embroidery to look like. I figured it was better to plan before I start punching holes in my actual collage. So I went with this sort of radiating circle idea, which I had mentioned before. And I like the idea that it's sort of like sound waves. And it's also, you know, pretty subtle. It's not very overpowering, but I do like that it balances the busyness of the flowers down below, because without it, the sky is pretty bland and there's not a lot happening up there. So this adds that extra level of interest, which I really like. So that's my plan. So I have this as a guide and I think that'll be really helpful. The other thing I have is I went to my kitchen and found cups and bowls and dishes and stuff that I thought were a similar size to the rings I want, so I can use these as circle templates. It's gonna look handmade because it's embroidery, but I did want to have some sort of guide so the circles are not wonky. I feel like that will help. Having at least one precise circle that we can use as a guide, I think will be really helpful. I also have my embroidery floss here. I originally thought I was gonna use shades of blue for the sky, but when I was playing around with it, I realized that there was just a lot of colors happening in the flowers, and that I should just keep it simple with just the white up in the sky. And I think that's probably the way to go. The other thing I have is my like paper all punch thing. I think it's smart to pre-punch my holes rather than just using the needle to sew through the paper. I think that's probably the way to go. I also keep my needles in this Mentos container, and they're like attached to this piece of felt, and that's how I keep them. I don't know if that's interesting, but that's how I do it. And so I think that we are ready to go. I think I have everything. I have my plan, got my supplies. So let's jump into this and see if we can make this work. First circle is done. This is definitely pretty tedious, but I'm really liking the way it's looking. My plan is to, so for this first circle, use a stitch where the stitches are all connecting. Sorry, I don't know anything about sewing. I don't know what the terms are. But for the outer rings, as I go out, I want there to be gaps between the stitches. So I think that this one will just be like a good solid base circle, but then as we go out, there'll be, again, that space between the stitches. So that's my plan. We'll see if that actually happens. So I guess let's keep going. I am really happy with how this turned out. I love the texture of the embroidery. It is really cool. So now I've done embroidery on a collage and I've done a 3D collage with a little bit of dimension. So do you have any other ideas of new things I could try to sort of up the game on my collages? I know I could use paint and do sort of like a mixed media thing, but if you have other ideas on new things I can try, let me know in the comments because I would love to try them. So I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, watching this piece come together, and let me know if you ever try adding embroidery to your collages. I'd love to see them. And I will see you next Thursday for another collage video. Bye.